Testing. Today's date is January 20, what's today? January 28th, 1976. And we're sitting at the home of Grandma and Grandpa, Hymie and BERTHA Schwartz, on 545 Neptune Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. Pretty soon we'll be celebrating the upcoming, I think, 80th birthday of Grandpa. And so for this occasion, we'd like to hear Grandma and Grandpa, some of their memoirs as to possibly how it was in Europe when they were still younger before they came here. And maybe their first impressions of New York City, so we'll have this for future generations to hear. Okay, in any case, we'll start with Grandpa.
Yes.
So tell us, Grandpa, where you were born and what you remember from your studies.
Well, my dear grandson, you know I was born in Austria, Galicia. You want to have the date and everything? Yeah. March the 9th, 1896. The name of the town was MOLLIE. And I came to this country in 1910. I think it was August the 1st. You want to know my impression about the city?
Well, first let's hear about what you remember from the from Monasterska, where you
Well,
lived.
from Monasterska, I remember a lot of things. That when I came to this country, I was 15 and a half years old. During that time, I made like 6 classes, 4 grammar classes. That was in a Jewish school. It's called Baron. Only Jewish boys went to that school, no girls, only boys. After the 4 years, we had to go to a regular public school that was dominated most from Polish people. That the teachers and all there was only one teacher which he learned Hebrew. You know, in the Polish schools they learned Hebrew like 1 hour a day or sometimes 1 hour, 2 days. And they had their galach, you know, the priest. We used to go out that time. They used to get together. Over there, they went there, the boys and girls. It's called a 5th class. 5th class was like here, the first year in high school, I think. And after the 6 classes, you could go, if you want to go, in like here in a higher school, it's called gymnasium. You know, not like here gymnasium.
Yeah,
high school.
And some of very few boys went to the gymnasium because it wasn't expensive. You had to go to another town. And the exception was one of the boys or girls with very high marks, so the scholarship like here, but they called it different. And I went there for 2 years. There were 6 classes, and after that I started, you know, most of the boys, the girls, they want to stay in that town. They want to go to different towns, you know. One of them learned all kind of trades. One of them, most of them, some of them went, yeshiva boys, is like here, they didn't go to school. They had their krasler, and when they were small, they used to send them to Cheder, from Cheder to yeshiva, like, not like here, yeshiva, but it was close. And they were very religious boys. They didn't know how to talk Polish or Russian. The country's language was Polish, Russian, and German. Understand what it is? On all the cards, it was written in Polish or in German, like Kaiser and Königlich is Kaiser means the Kaiser. In Austria was Kaiser, in Hungary was king. And we started to come to this country. One pulled the other.
Let me ask, what did your father do, and what did your grandfather do, and what do you
Oh, my grandfather, I don't remember. My father was a tailor, he worked, had his own shop, and he worked with a few people, was considered like here, a manufacturer, but not with his own goods. Goods you had to buy in a store, and they cut it and they made it up.
And what about your mother?
My mother was a housewife, cooking for the people who worked for them. You had to cook, you had to give them board and everything, not like here.
What was your name? Yeah, okay, we'll get the names now.
My father's name was Peretz, as you know. Mother's name was Hymie. Hymie? Yeah, and boys and girls, they started to leave the town. Some of them went to a bigger town, and they became there like clerks. They learned trades.
What did how many brothers and sisters did you have living there with you?
Well, we were 7 altogether. There was 1, 2, 4 here and 3 in Europe.
What are the names from oldest to youngest?
The oldest was I think you remember my brother Moshe.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Branch, you don't remember.
That's the second.
Then was Ethel. Then was Sanne, the one who's now in Flanders. And in between that, we had a sister, her name was Chaya. She was killed by the Nazis, with the husband and the 4 kids or 5. Then I came, and then my sister Rose, the one she is here in Boston. So the 7.
And your parents never came to America?
No.
How come?
Well, they were supposed to come. They had children there and children here, and they said that they made a living there, and they figured that they'll come next year, till it broke out the First World War, then the Second World War. Second World War, they were alive yet? No. First World War. And they remained there. Not everybody came here. They were satisfied to be there at the time. And they used to correspond with it, and that's all.
You once told me a story that in your father's store in the tailor shop, the soldiers once came.
Oh, that was in Austria, had some kind of a parliament, but not voted, not elected by the people. It was elected from certain rulers, that this one should represent this province, this one should, but direct from the people, there was no parliament. Then they passed a law that there should be an election like here. It's called in German Allgemeine Wahlrecht. Is that what it means? Allgemein means public election. Everybody should have. So naturally, there was parties. There was in the big cities. They had like the Social Democrats, which belonged Polish people, Russian people, German people, Jewish people, because it was like a labor movement. And then they had nationalist parties. Like the Polish people had their own party. The Russian people had their own party. The Jewish people had like their own party, like the Zionist organization. So when it came before election, the Polish people were the majority in our province. They could elect everybody because they were the majority. So there was no representation from the Jewish people or from the Russian people. So the Jewish people united with the Russian people. And they said like this: your town has a lot of Jewish people. So you'll give some votes for the Russians. In certain towns where the Russian people are the majority, they'll give their votes to the Jewish people. So we'll have representatives, and the Jewish people have representatives, like here congressmen. And the Polish people wouldn't have no representative from that town. So they were a party, So they wanted to make a pogrom like in Russia. They started to knock the windows and everything.
In your town?
In our town, yeah. And all the Jews locked the houses. Some of them were fighting, and it was a big trouble. In the whole city, they knocked out the windows. They only left our house. They didn't knock out the windows.
Why?
The reason, the head from that pogrom party, he had a big tailor shop, a shop like my father, and they knew each other. He used to send him customers. When he was busy, and his name was Shadlovsky. He was like our own man, and we were like his own people there, in business. So when it came to that street, he said, "Don't touch." Like in Polish, SHAPIRO-SCHWARTZ house, don't touch. So, and that went on for days, and they were fighting. And of course, there was like here the Jewish Defense League. And while they were fighting, so one one Christian fellow was killed. From the Jewish boys was killed. It was a whole trouble, but they could never find out who did it. And that went on like this for 6-7 weeks, till after election. After election, actually, they in our time gave Dr. Goebel, a big Zionist, and he was a congressman. And that's how they didn't elect anybody, just in that town, because they didn't have the votes. And the Russian people elected another town. The Jewish people voted for the Russian and that's how it went on till they quieted down. The government didn't want them to make pogrom. They sent soldiers, and they said that they'll start to make trouble, be against the government.
And what happened with this party in your house?
Which
For
part?
the soldiers?
Oh, they were dancing,
Yeah.
What do you mean?
They made in your father's shop. They made a ball.
Well, we had a very big room that it was where it was the shop that they worked. There was 6, 7, 8 people working.
Made a ball.
Press machines. That was the biggest room you can say in the whole town. And my father, should rest in peace, he liked to have this room very. Customers came in. He bought like here crystal chandelier, and he made a floor like here parquet floors. It was so this had nothing to do with the soldiers. We had a police force, so there was a captain, and there was whenever they used to run balls, they used to hire that hall, and it used to come those police to clean up, and then after that, and that was the place where they made their gatherings.
Okay, let me ask Grandma for a minute. Okay, what do you remember when you were a child? By the way, one more thing, Grandma. What was your house made out of?
The house was made from brick.
Was it a brick house?
It was in 1996, but 1900 something there, the late 1800s. You read that in the book what I gave you, the history of administration. The whole town was burned down. Only nine houses remained in the Ringplatz, like here in the marketplace. After that, every house which was built up had to be built from bricks, and the roof was supposed to be from, like here, black, tin. So it was regular.
Do you remember the fire?
Yeah, I was a little kid. I remember the fire. I remember the refuge. That time, the town had soldiers, and all the soldiers, they went to, but they couldn't save the town. And I remember I was on a hill. It was in summertime. And I was standing near my mother, should rest in peace, with the sister, yes. And we saw the flames, from the hill. And we slept on that hill. It was summertime. The people, the Gentile people from that section came out with quilts and with other things, and we lay down and we slept. In the morning came like here the Red Cross. I assume that was the Red Cross, with bread, trucks with bread and cheese and milk, and they.
So you're saying that there was a lot of anti-Semitism, though?
Oh, this is beside the point. Sure was anti-Semitism. Sure, and the boys used to fight with them, whoever was stronger, like in any place.
How did your mother and father meet one another?
This, I don't remember.
How could he remember? He wasn't born then.
Did they know? Do you know? They didn't talk to you about how they met?
They met, I know. She's from a different town.
Where was she from?
She was, I think,
In
from...
Europe, you meet through a shotgun.
I think she was from Chotkov.
When was she born? Do you know?
Where she was born?
What year?
In the same, in Austria.
What year?
What year?
What's the other?
How old was she when she died?
She was, I think, 78.
And your father?
81.
And you don't know what year he was born?
He was born also.
What year?
What year?
So, but they're all from that, they were always from, so the whole mishpacha that you can remember that they ever told you from was all from Galicia?
Yeah, from this, there was a difference from 4 or 5 towns. That was the limit where used to go the relatives. This one had relatives in this town, this has relatives.
Where's your father from originally?
Originally, he is, I think, from Bichuch. It was the next town. And they used to come here, there. That's how they made the shidduch, and they got married, and they raised the children, and everything.
Now, Grandma, what do you remember from your childhood?
Nothing. No comment.
No, we're going to have comment.
No.
I understand that your father and mother were well off.
My father and mother were well. We were quite well off.
In what city was that?
In Jadova.
In
Jadova.
Jadova?
Chadno, no. In Jadova, my kids. And then we moved to
Chadova, Bukhari.
Bukhari, Austria. That time was Austria.
And then you moved, when did you move? To Chernobyl.
I don't know.
How old were you?
Oh, 6, 7 years old. 6, 7 years. 8.
Talk louder.
What type of, what did you move to and where did you move? What type of house?
Chernobyl.
That was a very big city.
Yeah, my father
Many Jewish
had
people?
an Eisengeschäft,
What's that?
hardware store.
Uh-huh.
And went there to school. We were 5 children. We went to school there. And what else?
What do you remember about Uncle Joe is the oldest?
No.
Who's the oldest?
Lottie.
And Lottie's the oldest?
Lottie and Aunt next. And then is Joe. And then is Julius.
No,
And Rose.
And Rose. And Rose. Remember and Rose?
Yeah.
Julius.
And Julius.
He was born
Yeah, yeah.
And you went to school there?
Yeah, I went to school there.
Until what grade?
I went to, I graduated from public school, then I went to, like here, to a business school. Business school.
There?
In Chernobyl.
Uh-huh.
And from there, we lived first in Leboka.
Where's
My
that?
father, he was a bookkeeper there.
That's a town nearby?
Yes, not far from Chernobyl. And he was a bookkeeper.
What type of house did you live? Did you have any maids or servants?
Yeah, we had a maid.
You had a maid?
Yeah, we had a maid. We had a maid, and my mother always used to go away to Karlsbad, to Marienbad, and we were left with the maid.
Your mother went what, on vacation?
Yes, because she
You went from like here,
From
you go
here to,
Catskill?
to the Catskill,
take baths, like Saratoga.
Saratoga. She was always away
Carlsbad.
because she didn't feel that. She didn't feel that.
And your
And
father's name was Shrager
Feivel
Feivel.
Feivel.
And your mother?
Rebecca, Rivke.
And how did they meet?
They lived in one town.
What town?
And she was in Jadova. And she was the nicest girl in Jadova there.
Who told you?
That's what I heard. And she was the nicest.
Yeah.
And but they were cousins, first cousins.
Your
The
parents were
mother
cousins?
and the father.
We didn't know that.
No, of course not. So they were first cousins. So they met, and she was beautiful, my mother, gorgeous she was. So that's how they met.
Do you remember your grandparents?
Yeah, sure.
What was your grandfather's name?
Gidl and Heike. Clara,
And-
Heike.
And they were from the same place, Jadava?
Yeah.
And what did he do, your grandfather?
He was from.
Cattle merchant.
He was a
Yeah.
cattle merchant. He was
He
rich.
buy,
He was rich?
Yeah.
cows.
Cars. He was quite, and he had like a farm, big farm. And vacation, he came up there. And we had everything from the farm, from pears and apples and green peas and all kinds of vegetables from the garden, potatoes and everything. And we enjoyed it there very much.
And did they move away?
Who?
They died at the same place?
Yeah, sure.
Were they in the same
My grandma died when she was 60 years old. And the Zayda died when he was, I think, 75.
Uh-huh. And they had the farm all the time?
Yeah, she died. They left it for the children and that, but the Russian, the Nazis took the house away with the farm, with everything.
And your parents came soon after you did? To America?
No, my father came. My father came with Lottie, and Lottie, and then we came 6 months after with Joe.
What year
What?
was that?
When you came, what year?
1918,
1918?
1950.
1915, before the war.
Before the war.
They were here before the war.
Before the war.
And
And,
mother was
the mother-
Julius and Rose came after the First World War.
After the
And
first.
you both came to New York too.
Well, we may get to that part.
Yeah.
How far is Monastery Ziska from Chanovich?
Oh, that's not
It's
bad.
about
It's a few hours riding.
but we are close to 150 miles.
What do you remember about the typical Shabbos where you lived?
Oh, Shabbos was a regular Shabbos. There was a few. There
My
was the
grandparents
main.
were very very religious. The both grandparents. My mother's parents.
Now, the grandparents you mentioned are from your mother's side or from your father's side?
The
From the farm.
grandparents from the farm.
Yeah.
It's from the mother's side.
And the father?
In the father's side is given Yankel, and the Großmutter. One grandparents we called Großmutter and Großvater, and one the mothers we called Zayde and Bali.
And so Yankel, and what was her name?
Yankel and Hannah.
Jack is named after Yankel.
Yeah, sure.
And who's mommy named after? Elka?
An aunt.
Who's in?
An aunt to my grandmother.
And who are you named after?
I'm
Who's grandma named after? Raina?
right. There's some things also.
In the family?
You know where you're named after?
I
Yeah.
also from an uncle who knows.
So Shabbos there, they had a few
They had like this. They had a main synagogue with a chazan once in a while. Then they had like here they call it the Chotka close. You know, Chotka was one of the biggest rabbis in Galicia. He lived in Chotka, so he had his followers like here the rabbis. And then there was in that big synagogue was smaller parts like the Schneiderische Schuhe, the tailors, the Meluchas. And then they had like the Blecher Schuhe, there was like carpenters,
Roofers.
you know, hoofers.
No, carpenter is not. Roofers.
Yeah,
Blecher is
they
a
called it the
roofer.
Blecher Schuhe. But most of the construction workers, they used to down there.
No, but you have to say a schul for Balabaten. And a schul for people in Meluchas. And also is gewesen in Jadavach, Melucha, and
Do you remember people coming to your town for Shabbos?
yeah.
People coming from Shabbos was called, how do you call it, the Urmalite.
Areach.
They used to come.
Eure.
And there
By
were,
my grandmother is immer zu gewesen for Shabbos Eure. They did a lot of charity, the grandmother.
It took on Shabbos they had to go.
Oh, and for Friday they were very wealthy, so they were baking challahs from Donnerstag bis Friday. And hat ausgeschickt jeden challahs and potatoes. This from the town, from the farm.
the Yorchim, there was a certain man, he used to have a cheder, you know what a cheder is, from small children. And he was in his house, he had a room, and whenever an Orach came, he used to sleep there. But he didn't supply him with food, just to sleep. Food, he had to go around the town and try to get food. When it came Friday night, they used to go in to the shul, daven. And after Maariv, they used to stay by the door, and the Balbatim used to take, each one took a, if there was 5, 6, 4, sometimes only 2, and they took them for Shabbos. So they, Orchim, they came and they had their Friday night their supper. They went to that man, to Elie Melamed, the one who is Melamed means a teacher, a cheder. So they went there to sleep. In the morning they went back to shul and they went there for Shabbos. And Saturday, Shabbos Nacht, they went to their own, they was on their own. And that was, Shabbos, everything was closed. And they used to go Friday in our town. I don't know about the big towns. In our town, like 2 hours or 3 hours before sunset, they used to go around. We should close the business. You know, used to holler, Yidin Shila. And they used to close the stores, and everything was closed Shabbos. There was nobody against. They had freedom of religion and everything in Austria.
Well, most of the Jewish people where you lived, were they Orthodox from?
Most, yeah.
And you too, in Germany?
Oh, sure. We come from a very Orthodox.
But most of the people in the city.
My grandparents, the one side was Orthodox. The mother's parents were very Orthodox, and my father's parents were also Orthodox, but most on a stylish basis, but they were very Orthodox.
Okay, now let me ask this. We're going out just to the period when you started preparing to come to America. I'll ask Grandpa, we'll start with you, your remembrances, your memories, and then we'll ask Grandma hers.
The most reason what I came to this country was not because I didn't have the like some other people, they were poor, they didn't have enough food. The reason why I came here was because I didn't want to, one boy looked in the other. Like they heard, for instance, that this fellow went to a big city, like to Lemberg and so on, Stanislav, so the other one wanted to go. So the same thing was with me. I told my father, what's the use to be here? I want to also go to Lemberg or go to Vienna, and over there I'll see what I can do. In home, I used to help my father a little bit with the tailoring, but I wasn't a regular, just help out, to deliver, to sew something, to press a little bit, like in a... So I said I'll go to a big town and I'll become a Gesell. A Gesell means like here, what can I tell you? A Gesell means a good worker, in the small town, because those who came from the big towns, they were nice dressed and everything. So my brother, should rest in peace, he wrote to me that why do you have to travel in Europe to the towns? Come to America, and you'll start to work here, and you'll work yourself up, and you'll be able to help your parents and everybody. Why do you have to lay there in those towns? So I said, all right. I looked, one looked in the other. Whoever had here a brother or sister, so they brought him here. I came here to this country, and
How did you come?
with a boat. Come with a train to Holland, to Rotterdam. Over there I took the boat. In 10 days I traveled by boat till I came here.
Well, most of the people...
That not 10 days coming here it was like nothing.
No, why? If you go with a boat now, it takes you also about 5 6
But most of the people on your boat were Jewish?
The third class was most Jewish.
Okay, and do you remember the trip? Was it...
Oh, it was a very nice trip because I took the boat something like the 16th or the 18th of July. It was summertime, it was beautiful. We didn't have no trouble with the boat whatsoever.
And who did you come with, yourself?
Well, the law of the United States says you must have a guide if you're below 16. So there was a landsman of ours, which he came to this, he also went together, so that meant I'm under his supervision. But when I came here, he lay down on they call it, how they call it, kajute, the rooms in the boat. Third class was like the steerage. It was downstairs, and there was one bed on top of the other. So he
had
took...
a seasickness, I suppose.
I didn't have no sick, but this fella, the one I started out with him, he lay down in the bed till we got off on the boat 10 days.
Why?
He was sick. I used to bring him down eat. I didn't feel nothing. By fact that during the trip, everybody must go up on the deck, and they give you inject you. How do you call it here? Vaccine. Everybody. He couldn't even go up. So when we came in here, we saw already the light. We came in at night, so the boat stopped somewhere. I think it was in Hoboken, and we said in the morning we'll go for that was Ellis Island. You heard about Ellis Island?
Yeah.
So
Was everybody excited?
yeah, I started to take my valise and start to walk. I come over to, there was lines.
Where? In
Ellis Island.
Yeah.
With that fella.
Yeah.
That fella, they gave a cross with chalk, and they took him away.
They took him away?
The guard took him away. To me, they said, go ahead, go ahead. And I went. You had to, they looked into your eyes.
You had trachoma, I suppose.
And so on. So they were in doubt whether he is healthy or not, because he came down from the ship so weak. So they took him away to examine him whether he is perfect to come in. Me, they saw a young fella, so my brother, should rest in peace, he was supposed to take me off the boat. And they let me go. They only asked me, the law was that you must have $10 in your pocket. American $10, not American, but equivalent to $10. When I was on the boat, there was like a concession there with chocolate, beer, soda, cakes. So naturally I had money with me. My brother should rest in peace, send me, I should have $10 or so. And I treated girls there. I spent maybe, from that $10, I spent it maybe $3 or $4. When the inspector asked me, Jamie, hast du Geld? Sag, ja, ich habe Geld, but ich habe nicht the 10 $. He asked me, so, what'd you do with the money? I said, I bought chocolate. He said, go ahead. I walked out with the valise. I don't see my brother.
Where was this?
In Ellis Island.
But Ellis Island still is not Manhattan.
Yeah, Manhattan. But there was the...
How do you get from Ellis Island to Manhattan?
With a boat, with a ferry.
Oh, so you took a ferry.
Yeah, I'm telling you how.
Okay.
So I go out. You gotta see the water. You know, Ellis Island's on the water. And I ask people there, do you know in Yiddish, kennt ihr einen SHAPIRO-SCHWARTZ? They look at me. Then comes over a man with a cap that was from the Hayas. He says, you'll go with in Yiddish, it's game with me. I said, no, I wouldn't go. I want my brother. I never knew my brother. You know, he left this country, I was maybe a year old or so. He said, I represent the Hayas. I didn't know what it is. You come with me. I says, and he says, give me the satchel, and this will be checked. I said, I wouldn't. They told me I shouldn't leave out the satchel from the hand, but to do nothing. You never see better. So those who were smart enough, they gave him the valises and everything, and you didn't have to carry them. And I went, there was maybe 10, 12 people. There were 2, 3 girls, 4 or 5 boys, 2 elder men, and he took us in the ferry. And he brought us over to South Ferry with the ferry, you know, in South Ferry. Then he walked with us up. Nobody had a valise, only I slept. It was hot, and he brought us up on the train. So on the train, that time they used to have shoe shiners. You know, in the elevator. South Ferry, I think it was the Second Avenue train that time. I took a shine. I didn't like the shoes. And I showed that guy, he gave the shines. I took out, I had some change. He picked out, I don't know how much or so on, and thanked me. Then he brought us to his Broadway. That time was the Hayas had the office there.
So you still didn't see your
And I didn't see, ich war geschrien, where's my brother? He says, don't worry, Yiddish, mir bringen zu deinem Bruder in Hauser. And that was already about 11, 12 o'clock. And he took all these people with him, and he had a car, like one lived in this Livingston Street, I lived in a tiny street. So then he left the 3, 4 people downstairs, and he walked up with you. He came in and knocked on the door. I came in a hall, a tiny street, it's dark and everything. And he knocks on the door, you expect somebody from Europe? So my sister said, yes. So I said, Hier bin Chamitzik. Oh, where is Moshe? I don't know where Moshe is. He was standing there, he was there till 6 o'clock in the evening. Then they hollered, then they call in the people, they say we'll call out those which we let go without anybody. He heard my name. You know that
What was your first impression of New York City?
The impression of New York City was to me very nice because a big town, the train and all that, but the housing facilities. You know, we lived better, nicer home in my town than I came into my brother, in a tiny street. There was a railroad flat, the bedrooms had, I don't think they had windows, and it was hot, you know, in the 1st of August, and the toilets were in the hall. You know, in the hall you had to, at night if you want to, you had to go out, and most of the people had chambers with them. So this impression, I thought that he lived, I thought he lives with a balcony. You know, when I came, it was so hot that my sister-in-law said I should go on the side, on the fire escape to cool off myself.
This was a balcony.
So I says to her, this is the balcony. She says, this is for tomorrow fire, tomorrow so. Where's the balcony? He says, we don't live in a balcony. I figured that in Europe, if you live on the second floor, you have a balcony. Of course, you would come in a rooms like this, it would be different. The impression was all right. Yeah.
Grandma, let me ask you, how did you make your trip?
I had a seasickness.
You were sick right away in the beginning.
Like my friend.
Terrible.
Wait, who did you come with?
I came with Joe, Uncle Joe.
And who was here before you?
Lottie.
And your father.
Yeah.
And remaining back in the home was your mother and Julie. And then
Rosie and Julie.
Uh-huh.
Julie came here when I was six years old. And
so what do you remember about leaving with Uncle Joe? I mean, what do you remember about leaving your mother and going to
well, I was very sorry to leave her, and then when I came here, I missed her, but my father was, and my father was here with Ladi, and we all had, all three of us had an apartment.
How did you get to the boat from your home?
How I got... They took me, my mother, and the rest of them.
You went
Train, yeah.
Where, the same way as Grandpa, through Holland?
No,
Rotterdam.
Rotterdam.
Yeah, that's the same.
Were you excited?
When I came here,
For
it
the
didn't
trip?
No, I was sick. I was.
No, before you got sick, were you excited about going to America?
Yeah, well, yes. And when I came here, it didn't make a good impression on me. Because as soon as I came, I saw the wash outside on the line. And this,
No, that's in Israel too, it's the same thing.
and this made me so.
In Jerusalem, in the morning,
I
you
came
had
to my aunt, to Mother's, well, you don't know, to my aunt. You remember Aunt Sarah? No.
So, Aunt Sarah, you went to her.
Yeah.
Wait, let me ask this. On the boat, it was a long 10 days for you?
Oh, yeah. I was sick most of the time.
And what do you remember about Ellis Island and things of this sort?
Well,
I understand
on
Uncle
Ellis
Joe had
Island-
some troubles.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a big
Also
big
the
storm.
same thing.
They let her go.
They
you
let
said?
Annie go, and Uncle Joe, they put away, because they looked in his eyes and they saw he had trachom.
So then what did they do with
So
him?
he had to go back,
All the way back.
all the way
Where,
back
Europe?
to Europe.
Oh
The
my
boat,
God.
that was the,
That was
You just
the,
landed yourself?
myself. And
So what did he say? It was this terrible.
Oh, then
was hearings,
he
so
was
they say.
hearings, and then
But why-
my
what-
father came,
Yeah.
and at last.
So your father
and he
never
was-
saw Uncle Joe?
He never he
Yeah,
saw him
yeah,
there
yeah.
in the asylum.
Oh, and then, so what was his reaction when he heard he had to go back?
We were all crying. He was crying, and then he came. He had to go back.
he went back
And it
at
was a
least to
terrible
Rotterdam.
scene.
And he was there, the doctor cured him.
He was in a
What was
hospital
wrong with him?
Trachoma?
in the eyes.
Glaucoma.
Glaucoma.
I don't know what kind of
Yeah,
sickness
I don't
it
know
was.
what kind of sickness. They wouldn't let him in. No, they didn't let him, your companion either.
No, they let him in,
No,
but
but
he
they
looked
want-
sick.
Yeah.
They stopped.
They right away chucked him
Yeah.
and says, you go out, and he can't go out. So I was surprised.
They
He
had-
says, why? He says, because his eyes are not well
You
enough.
see,